You know, nothing means more to me than this gang. The bond we share. It's the most real thing to me. I would kill for it, I would happily die for it. In the skies above the isle, ace is an example.
At all who's endured my undiagnosed Asperger's exhortations over the last year knows I was turgid at the prospect of a second crack at Red Dead. And while the prospect of a prequel brought me to momentary half-mast, let your fuck yeah flags fly, my friends. It's here and it rules. But make no mistake, the aforementioned fucking prequel attempt remains a righteous distillation of ass, and sure enough, it's precisely that element that drags the opening chapter to a pre-K crawl. How about that Ron Jeremy tutorial length, folks? Look, I get acclimating the player to the rules and rustler regulations. I even get double and triple checking we got the goddamn message like a schizophrenic fucking tonto, given most modern gamers' IQ doubles as their shoe size. But did we need to put such wide gaps between each lesson? Would you write this on Madonna's front teeth? Smashed together, this shit'd be shorter than a Shapiro step class. As written, I've attended shorter presidential funerals, and hey, horse riding's neat, and so's nature, but rubber banding my ass to a marginally mobile NPC's nuts for 15 hours in lieu of embracing interactivity for a deeper, more tactile connection betwixt the player and the world sure is Rockstar in here. Fortunately, the eye and ear-popping atmospherics engage where the gameplay does not, particularly for adherents of the cowboy film genre, as obvious nods to superb snow western The Great Silence can be spotted from orbit. Here, the endless acoustic guitar plucking of the previous effort has given way to everything from piano to violin to a wall of synthesizer as untrammeled by petty genre distinctions as the gameplay itself. Gunplay remains righteously fucking fun, though I concede something about Deadeye still doesn't feel as crisp as the previous entry. By way of example, the bond between horse and player is a bona fide fucking revelation for equestrian and Sarah Jessica Parker fan of fucking like. In lieu of merely mounting the beast, walking vertical up a Skyrim slope, and whistling forward at your leisure, you must actually put in the work of bonding with the beast to achieve peak performance, whether by stroking its silken locks, feeding it fucking french fries, or reciting the collected works of Ann Coulter. The horse has become a character, and I can scarcely describe my dismay when an animal I'd bonded with from the opening chapters decided mid-train robbery that hanging a hard left into the path of an oncoming locomotive was a recipe for health and happiness, and I was forced to find a replacement pony. Customization has taken center stage as well, whereas I would argue Marston is modern gaming's most overrated protagonist because his character is cast in fucking bronze before you brandish your first 5-shot. Arthur Morgan is made a spiritual surrogate for the player, his rudimentary traits defined by the designers, while the heavy lifting is left to the audience, returning in a roundabout way to the days of Red Dead Revolver and the not so assiduously defined death dealing of one Red Harlow, who I wouldn't mind seeing in a later installment, by the by. Either way, it's an infinitely more engaging approach than that of its predecessor, and solidifies my assertion that while GTA is the action extravaganza in the Rockstar stable, Red Dead is a 45 Colt single-action RPG. A fact hip-fired the fuck home with the addition of outright survival elements that many dedicated RPGs continue to ignore. Whereas The Witcher or Dragonborn can gallivant across fantasy-topia decapitating thundercucks and kobolds with nary a wink of fucking sleep, Arthur Morgan must eat, bathe, sleep, and allow his horse to periodically pinch a turd. It's fleshed out about as well as you'd expect from a AAA developer shilling its shit to geeks and thick-necked jocks alike, but all the same, its inclusion is an encouraging augury in an industry that adds one feature for every 50 they fucking remove. Unfortunately, to make way for a motherfuckload of new and invigorating additions to the series, a handful had to fall by the wayside. I mean, am I the only one who kicked the game's ass to completion and still stumbled on all of 4.5 duels in the damn thing? Granted, given how hard they fucked the duel function up in this game, it's a borderline blessing, but it's hard to slurp down that sweet spaghetti western aesthetic without them. Either way, I've seen more high noon pistol fights in Southtown Chicago, so maybe patch this shit. Still, stolen features from fucking Fable like hair growth and goddamn weight gain, not to mention guts and goddamn gore that invite revulsion from the NPC contingent, are as welcome as they are immersive, proving in the process my repeated assertion that there is no game more routinely reviled or ripped the fuck off then Fable. And really, that's the richest vein in Red Dead II. Of all the new mechanics that made their way to the sequel, and they are many, I find it's the subtler touches, the ones 90% of the player base never comes within dicking distance of, that sets my testes a-tingling. First-person mode, for instance. Now, I've stated on many the occasion I have an innate third-person preference, and while I don't require every game conform to my preferential whims, it's nice to plunk my ass down and say fucking Fallout, and know that while the game is clearly designed for first-person, at will, I can yank the camera back and appreciate the player character in the context of his environment. And to be blunt, I hadn't even considered this feature for fucking Red Dead. But it works!
And then you run wires that connect them all, and again, it just works.
Okay, maybe works is too strong a word, but coupled with the newfound fucking simulation aspects, it does position the player firmly in a fully realized Old West world, which Red Dead Redemption does better than perhaps any other title in its weight class. If there's any unctuous malady, it's the cocked up criminal justice system. No, not the severity of the penalties. This ain't Desperado Dark Souls. Simply put, there's 15 fucking thousand ways to break these bullshit laws, up to and including not breaking them, and precisely one method of unfucking yourself. You guessed it, parting your alabaster ass cheeks for a bounty butt fucking that, distilled to its essence, amounts to a government-mandated murder tax. Flambéed a barnload of doe-eyed juveniles for simply existing? Wiped out Wyoming from orbit? Fuck it, fork over your Bitcoin and bebop on into the sunset. Who designed this legal system? Ted Kennedy, Vince Neil, and OJ? Not that I'm complaining, given that you scarcely fucking fart without a $50 bounty being staple gunned to your ass. True story. I head to the Trapper in Saint Denis to sell rhino spunk for silver shavings or some shit. On the way, some Asiatic asshat hits me so hard I broke up with Chris Brown out of reflex. Undeterred, I attempt to advance to my destination regardless, only to have Margaret Cho ching-chong the fuck about and bifurcate my butthole with a karate kick. Boom! Unarmed assault charge. Next thing I know, I'm getting revolvered to shiny shitlets by the Magnificent Seven, despite having declined to throw a single fucking punch in the original altercation. Justice. Never mind the endless inconvenience for the player. What about the philosophical incongruity of setting a wild, wild west game in a world with more rules than a fucking cricket match?
Cricket? Nobody understands cricket. You gotta know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
Unarmed assault, disturbing the peace, waxing without a pube permit. Who knew the lawless West had more preconditions than a Charlie Sheen prenup? Look, I'm happy to report the game is goddamn great, but let's be real. Red Dead 2 had scarcely spent a second on store shelves before it was hailed as an immortal masterpiece. And masterpiece it may be, but perfection it fucking ain't. For one thing, the rob feature is touchier than Michael Avenatti on bath salts. Every second shitbag you try to rob, from a half-crippled cunt to an infirm fuckbag on a kidney drip, throws down like Wild Bill Hickok if you so much as sneeze sideways, which would be relatively minor as an irritant if Rockstar weren't complete unbending butt plugs about what explicitly constitutes a robbery. Bumped off a bait shop and made off with all the money? Tough shit, not a robbery. Blew a bitch's skull clean off his shoulders and ganked his shit afterwards. You guessed it, not a goddamn robbery. You see, for arbitrary achievement purposes, you must first draw on the dipshit, depress the perfectly pointless rob button, and then peer on passively while Rockstar's prefab fucking rob feature rolls invisible D&D 20 to determine whether you get free shit or complimentary buckshot to the brain. And spoiler fucking alert, in my experience, there's a 10 in 9 chance you're walking into a Winchester lobotomy. And really, that's Red Dead 2's problem in a nutshot. For all the immersive PC simulation aspects added to the pistolier proceedings, Rockstar remain, at their core, a console developer. Meaning you may be able to amble in any direction and do damn near anything under the yellow sun, but the training wheels remain affixed to your fucking asshole throughout. And make no mistake, these divergent design philosophies do collide in Red Dead 2, and it absolutely adversely impacts an otherwise excellent experience. Case in point, the controls. Now, I'm not picking on poor old Rockstar here. Watch my Mass Effect 3 review for a merciless, spittle-flecked harangue on exactly this fucking phenomenon. But what I repeatedly referred to in said review as one button to rule them all syndrome can quite literally get you lynched in Red Dead Redemption 2. You can scarcely hi-ho silver the fuck into the sunset without being cock-blocked by contextual control issues. You know what, Rockstar? You're right. I clearly meant to three-point tackle the tits off a random douche and tush off a Red Dead Rodney King riot in downtown Saint Denis. That makes a motherfuck of a lot more sense than the mere act of, say, mounting my horse. These aren't nitpicks. They're legitimate flaws that directly impact the experience, and it's my sincere hope they're patched. But fortunately, they're also profoundly fucking fucking outweighed by the omnipresent pistol-slinging supremacy on offer in this exceptional game. Red Dead Redemption solidifies the cowboy shit-kicker saga as the cerebral, simulation-oriented counterpoint to GTA's Michael Bay explosions and butt-plug jokes. As I asserted in my original review of Red Dead Redemption, this series was just this side of an RPG to begin with, and only the tiniest turn of the steering wheel would send it ass over elbow into a D20 tailspin of attributes and XP. Well, consider that wheel fucking spun, my friends. This is as close to an outright RPG as Rockstar have yet attempted, and prospers profoundly as a result, leaping from one of the company's lesser successes at a mere 11 million copies sold in the first fucking year, next to GTA 5's phallus-throttling 13 million, mind you, but with 17 million copies shipped inside of the first fucking week. Folks, I dare say Red Dead has arrived, my friends. In short, Rockstar, buddy, here's a good boy. I'm Razor Fist. God fucking speed, partner.